Hello everyone and welcome to the New Normal Speaker Series. My name is Gjoko Muratovski and I'm the Director of the Women's School of Design. My special guest today is Mark Boudreaux. And since we're meeting just before Christmas, the topic of our conversation will be toys. Toys are more than just presents for children. We often take them for granted, but the reality is that they're an important part of our lives. When playing with toys while growing up, we develop our motor and cognitive skills. We learn how to be creative, solve problems, and overcome obstacles. Toys also help us to learn to walk, talk, socialize, acquire knowledge, grow emotionally, and develop social and spatial awareness. Mark is a toy designer. In fact, he is one of the greatest toy designers in the world. He is also one of our star alumni. Mark, welcome to the New Normal Speaker Series.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. So, Mark, how does one embark on a career to design toys?
Well, it was very interesting. Back in the day, I went to Muller High School, which is a local school, and I was taking architecture class at school. But architecture class at UC was full at that time. So we went to the counselor and we said, well, I'd really love to go to UC. It's such a great school. What other programs might be available? And it turns out that industrial design was something that I would be interested in. The great thing about UC and that program is co-op, and that's really what helped really shape my career for 43 years. Going to UC for 5 years, going to the co-op program. My first co-op was in Columbus, Ohio at Richardson Smith. The second co-op was grassroots design up in Chicago. And then I had the opportunity to interview with Kenner Toys. The great thing about Kenner was it's a hometown company. And I was able to get the job. I was their first co-op in their newly formed preliminary design department. And this was back in January of '77. So I'm kind of dating myself a little bit there. But what was really fun is when I got there, I realized that two other UC alums were right in that same department, Jim Swearingen and Tom Osborne. So, you find out very quickly that the toy business is a small world. And it really was reinforced over the 43 years of my career, getting to know all kinds of people and all kinds of experiences. And it all comes back to UC. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And in no small part was UC responsible for that, with their co-op program. Because I would have never had the opportunity to work at Kenner without UC's assistance.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the co-op is still going strong. We're still having a lot of exposure for our students. We still place them in some of the best companies in the country and beyond. And we're very fortunate that we can be actually doing that for more than 115 years. So, yeah, Jim Swearingen and Tom Osborne, you mentioned. Tom was also the design director at the time at Kenner, right?
He worked in design, and so did Jim Swearingen. So they were both really great guys. I love working with them. It was, working at Kenner and going to UC. It really was a camaraderie. It's really all about the people, because you can't do any of these projects on your own. It really is a collaboration, and having people like Jim and Tom, on the team and them accepting me, because, I was just the co-op at the time. But I really felt like part of the team, and they gave me the projects, which was cool. And they said, okay, Mark, here's a project, go for it.
Tom is still here. He's still visiting us. He's actually coming and teaching classes for us.
Yes, I was aware of that.
Yeah, so it's amazing. It's that we still have this connection after so many years. And we can also leverage still on that experience. Mark, you guys were best known for working on the Star Wars toys series. You were the first group of designers who essentially developed the original Star Wars toys. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, that was a very interesting experience. Starting as a co-op, in January of '77. If memory serves, I think just in February of that year, a month or so later, Kenner acquired the Star Wars license, partnering with Lucasfilm. I don't know if anybody knew it at the time, with maybe the exception of Jim Swearingen, because Jim Swearingen really had the insight to know that there was something special about this story, and that's what it's all about. He read the script, he saw this, he knew the potential, the characters, the vehicles, the worlds that you could experience. It was going to be something that was totally new, that no one had ever seen before. So kudos to Jim. He kind of started the ball rolling, and kudos to Kenner for embracing his passion that that Star Wars was something that we should pursue, and the rest of it is history, as they say. And to be able to work on it at the very beginning, I'm not sure if anybody really knew how big it was going to be, but it was certainly something that just touched a nerve with everybody. Everybody could relate to the story and to the movie. And yes, it was in a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago, but it was something that you could relate to. And I think that's what George Lucas really did a great job with, telling a story that there was something there for everybody. There was the action, and there was the comedy, and a little bit of romance, but and good versus evil, and how that all relates to everybody's lives. 43 years later, Star Wars is such a part of the culture. You see references for Star Wars all the time, whether it's classic or whether it's the new Mandalorian show. It really has been once in a lifetime experience. And to be able to be some of the first folks to work on the product, I'm very proud of that. After all these years, you can look back and reflect on, what you were a small part of, to realize that, you worked on product that really changed people's lives in a lot of ways, a lot of childhood memories, memories that the older fans now are passing along to their kids, and their kids are going to be passing along to theirs. And so Star Wars really is an heirloom, if you will. It's multi-generational, and and Star Wars fans are really passionate, and so are the designers.
Yeah.
Every detail counts, and so we're really proud of what we were able to accomplish.
We are also very proud of all the work that you have done, and especially that even as a co-op, when you were not even fully employed there, you were still a student, essentially, that you had this opportunity to contribute to such an iconic collection. And so it's really absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, I think a lot of credit has to do with Kenner, how the management was set up. Dave Okada was our vice president, and like I said, Jim and Tom were an integral part of the design team, along with a lot of other folks, of course. And like I said, I think they allowed me to be more than a co-op. Yes, I would, hey, go ahead and cut this, mat or whatever. But they gave me real projects to work on, and I really respect them for that, and I think that really helped me in my path, over the years. So I really do thank them for allowing me to be more than just a co-op, but actually be part of the team.
Yeah, that's actually quite typical for our co-ops. They're actually quite advanced. In fact, the FedEx logo was designed by one of our co-ops.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's also in our museum. And by the way, we have the original collection the very first set that you guys designed is also here in the museum. We're very proud of the work that you have done and of your legacy. So thank you for that. Yeah, that's also part of the collection, the
Yes.
box.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, really, like I said, people are the most important part of any design element. And, it takes a lot of folks, dedicated folks to, make things happen. And Kenner and Hasbro was very fortunate to have a lot of very passionate and dedicated folks working on the Star Wars over the years.
Yeah, so this is one of the most successful toy series in the history of the world. How many toys have been sold since you launched it in 1978, I believe?
Oh, oh my goodness. I'm a designer. I'm not so much of a numbers guy.
I had a quick look just to check on the figures. And while you were at Kenner, between 1978 and 1985, there were 300 million Star Wars action figures sold.
That's a lot of figures.
That is a lot of figures. And that is just between 1978 and 1985. We're about to end 2020 now, and the Star Wars franchise is going stronger than ever. So it's quite fascinating. And you cannot imagine the franchise itself without these toys. So that is quite remarkable success for you guys. Yeah.
I was just going to say that's one heck of a number. I knew it was quite high. I didn't know it was quite that high.
Yeah, I just looked it up now just to see. Yeah, it's really high.
The nice thing was to look back and realize that you were even just a small part of Star Wars is pretty cool. Not too many people have had the opportunity to do what we have done over the years. It's a smallish group, relatively speaking, but again, it's a passionate group and folks over the years, over the last 40 years that I've been involved, a lot of UC alumni, a lot of partnerships with Lucasfilm, our partners in Asia, Hasbro and Kenner, everybody coming together to make all of this happen, because you're not going to produce that quantity of product, without a lot of folks, being very diligent at what they do. And it's really the fans. We can make product all day, but it's the fans that we're making the product for. It's their passion that feeds us. And that's what really makes working on Star Wars such a great thing, because it's more than just you. It really is for a community of people that call themselves Star Wars fans. And I think that community is really what makes Star Wars special. And I think it's that community that makes UC and its co-ops special. It really is something that both sides, whether it's school or whether it's business, are really passionate about what we do. And I like to think that reflects in the product that we make. Whether it's a design for a younger fan or whether it's a design for a collector, where they really demand the highest quality possible, we do it because we also want to, set a high standard. So it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. I think we're passionate from a design point of view because our fans are passionate, and that really does feed off of each other. And I think that makes for a great synergy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it was a lot of that was highlighted in the Netflix series, The Toys That Made Us, and it was great to see you and Jim in that show. It was also great that it was the opening show for the series, The Toys That Made Us.
Yes, that was.
Shows how important this particular toy collection was.
Yeah, that was very special. I was glad to be part of that, and to see Jim walk through the old offices in the Kroger building in Cincinnati was pretty cool. It brought back a lot of memories.
So, what would you say was the most exciting part of working on the Star Wars toys for you? What was the most exciting toy that you had to design?
Well, that's a big question. There's a lot of exciting things being able to work on Star Wars over 43 years. Like I said before, I think the first thing foremost is the people, because you really do start to bond with folks over the years. You build relationships. The opportunity to work with various aspects of the company. So you work with design, but you're also working with engineering and packaging and tooling, and all aspects of the company. And that really is cool. It broadens your scope of knowledge when you're able to work with that larger team, and then you add in working with Lucasfilm over the years. They were great partners. It really is a collaborative effort, between Kenner and Hasbro and Lucasfilm, and that in itself was really exciting, because you knew you were getting information from Lucasfilm, to really help develop the best product. And long before people would see it in the films, right? Because, it would take over a year to develop the items. And so they were really good about letting us know what the story was all about, because that's what you have to be able to relate to the product that you make, whether it's an action figure or a vehicle, to know that story and know the context. That really helps as a designer, because I think that gives you a little bit better understanding on what it is that you're trying to design. How is this really going to relate to the movie? How are people going to react to this particular character or a vehicle? And so you want to make sure that you represent Darth Vader the way he needs to be represented, or you need to make sure that you do a Millennium Falcon properly, because a Millennium Falcon in the film is a character itself. It's more than just a vehicle. It's something that carries our heroes from planet to planet and story to story. And without the Millennium Falcon, a lot of things wouldn't happen. It's just like R2-D2. A lot of things wouldn't happen if it wasn't for R2-D2. So you really do need to understand how that product relates. And I think that's really the big part for me. The other thing is, there's a lot of cool things, designing the product is great. I love that. I've been kind of the vehicle guy, over the years. I've worked on action figures and role play and things like that, but vehicles are always what I had a passion to do, and Kenner and Hasbro allowed me to do that. As I mentioned, in some of the other pieces and other interviews, working on a 3 3/4 inch line, I've had the privilege of working on all the major Millennium Falcons over the years. So Millennium Falcon is kind of near and dear to me. I've spent a lot of time working on versions of those. And those are probably my favorite toys. I have others. Boba Fett is a big character of mine. Now that The Mandalorian is out, as you mentioned, Star Wars is as you mentioned, Star Wars and Mandalorian, because of Mandalorian, is as big as it has been in a long, long time. People are really just into Mandalorian so much, and I was so excited to see Boba Fett return, because Boba Fett was too cool of a character to just be eaten by a Sarlacc. So to have him return, to have him fly around in the Slave One, which is another vehicle I designed, is really, really pretty cool. That's kind of my passion, is that original trilogy. And a lot of other collectors, that's their passion too, because that's where everybody was exposed for the first time to Star Wars with those 3 films. and they certainly made the most impact, I think. But having said that, if you're a younger fan, you might have gotten onto that Star Wars train for 1, 2, and 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3. So from that standpoint, that might be your collection base, are those films. Mm-hmm. But I would say that in general, the first trilogy is probably the most collected, just because I think it has the most memories for everybody. It's a very real looking world, Star Wars. And so you gravitate towards the Lukes and the Hans and the Leias of the world, but you also are interested in all those background characters, that you see, and how do they relate to Star Wars. And so I think that's really something that, again, Lucasfilm really did a great job in just putting a story together that there's something there for everybody.
Why these toys have such a following and fan base? Why do people collect toys way past their childhood?
I think Star Wars is a really unique situation. When it came out, it was just the really good timing. It was a feel-good movie, that everybody could relate to. You could see the community start to build. We would always joke there'd be lines around the planet waiting to go into Star Wars movies. And back then, Star Wars movies would stay at the theaters for a year. Even the best movies today are at a theater for maybe 3-4 weeks, possibly. But Star Wars was around for quite a while. We didn't have social media, we didn't have computers, things like that. So Star Wars really was something that you would go see multiple times. Hey, let's go see Star Wars again. Let's go see Star Wars again. Because it really was there. And I think the following grew and grew and grew. And again, it became a community, which I think is so important with Star Wars. And for folks who were young at the time when those movies came out, I think that's an experience that you didn't forget. And so you get older, you start to have kids, you're still interested in Star Wars. Kenner Hasbro is still producing Star Wars product. And I think, as you grow up as a fan, you see an item that, wow, I used to have this as a kid. I no longer have it, but boy, I really would like to get it again. So now the first group of fans are now starting to get back into trying to kind of rekindle their childhood memories.
Can you talk a little bit about your design process?
Well, I think the design process starts with knowing the story. I think, you look at the items that you want to develop. Let's take the Star Wars as an example. Whether you do a figure or a vehicle, I think you want to understand what that character or vehicle is all about. What's its purpose in the story? How does it relate from one aspect to another? Is the vehicle important to a particular figure? Is it important to a story point? And I think being able to understand the story is probably the most important aspect of the process, because I think once you understand the story, that allows you to start to dig deeper into what that needs to be. If it's a figure or a vehicle, what's the appropriate scale? What's the appropriate audience? Is this being designed for a young fan? Is it being designed for a collector? And so all of those elements start to give you your checklist on things that you want to make sure that you take into account. Um, for a collector, the decoration, the amount of detail that you put onto an item you're going to look at that differently than if it's for a younger crowd. Younger crowd might be a cleaner version, a little bit more vibrant colors, a clean version, if you will. Whereas if you go into the collector side of things, they're going to be more battle worn. They're going to be much more complicated detailing, whether it's decoration or whether it's actually detail molded into the parts. They're all Star Wars. Both ends of the spectrum are Star Wars, but you do take a look at where you want it to be in the series.
Mark, let me ask you one final question. What is your most favorite toy of all times? And it doesn't need to be from Star Wars, from the Star Wars universe.
Well, I guess because I was working on Star Wars for so long.
So it is from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of from the Star Wars universe. I mean, you can see behind me, there's a big Millennium Falcon, and there's, this shoulder, a big Millennium Falcon, and the newer, smaller one behind the other shoulder. I love Darth Vader and Boba Fett and lots of other things, but because I have had the opportunity to work on so many of the Millennium Falcons, that really is just a part of who I am, a part of me. We wanted to try to make every version a little bit different, because it is a character, and we really wanted to, highlight that. But so I guess I would say that, Millennium Falcon is probably my favorite, I would say.
I love the Millennium Falcon. It is quite remarkable, and the detail that goes into it is quite remarkable. So, yeah, amazing job, Mark.
Well, thank you. Like I said, there's a lot of behind the scenes, that make this happen. It's, I happen to be, in this interview today, you're speaking with me about all of this, Star Wars product, but there have been many, many folks that have contributed to the success of Star Wars. And I'm proud to be a small part, but I also realize I'm just a small part. And again, I thank UC and its co-op program and its teachers, for giving me the opportunity to be here today to speak with you about this, and how much I really do respect UC. And I'm very fortunate to have been born here in Cincinnati, to be able to go to the local school, and to say I'm proud to be a Bearcat. And
thank you.
So thank you for this interview. I very much appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it too. And it's always great meeting an alumnus from the school and learning about the work they have done, seeing how well they have done and what they have achieved. It is really special to us. And Mark, thank you so much for being my guest. And thank you for bringing joy with your work to the lives of so many people, myself included. So,
well, thank you for that.
Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. Very Merry Christmas. And to all the UC folks out there and all the Star Wars fans, stay safe and have a great holiday.